All right, welcome to Midwest Hunting and Outdoors by two dumbasses. Today we're in a bit of a rainy day, and Joel and I have decided to shoot an episode, but we're going to do it remotely. So we don't do this too often, but we thought we'd give it a shot. And so, welcome to the show. And today on my North Star 31-gallon sprayer by Northern Tool, and we told our viewers that, hey, we were going to be making some modifications, but I think it's worth recapping where we're at. So I bought this 31-gallon Northern Tool sprayer, costs roughly around $450. It's a tow behind with a boom, and I tow it behind my side-by-side ATV. And certainly not happy with it. Not the sprayer itself works really good, but the whole tow behind mechanism and how it's set up is not good. So what I thought we'd do today is, hey, let's talk some options on how we could redesign it. So this is the sprayer itself per se, and as you can see, it's got the boom right here that's pretty slick. And as I mentioned, hey, after it tipped over, I lost a wand, so it's got a nice little spray wand. It's a little cheesy bracket over here, excuse me, right here for holding the wand. It's pretty cheesy, but the sprayer mechanism in itself works super good. Here's one of the issues: is when it's a pin type hitch, and when it flips over, it's got that 31 gallons of fluid, or even if it's 25, it's pretty heavy, and no matter how slow you're going, it's going to want to turn. And you see it's been bent. It's done this on me a couple of times, and you can see the tongue on this is, I mean, if that's 18 inches, that would be a stretch, right? So giving our viewers a chance to see what some of the issues are here. And then I also did, just to look up underneath it to see how it's set up. And you can see I've got a retrofitted wire harness here that usually goes over the top, just laying here for right now. And so you see the wheelbase from here to here, at best, I would say from this distance on the inside, at best 2 feet. I'd like us to talk about options. What do you think are some options?
Well, I think one, well, let's talk about the simplest option. One option, Tim, is to sell it in the aftermarket, right? And get something totally different. It's if that's not a tow behind, it's I think you're leaning towards something that you put in the bed of your UTV and that you can take in and out of that bed of your UTV once a year or whenever you're going to use it and go from there. So I think that's clearly an option. I think the second option would be is, on the bottom of this, you can see where the frame is connected to the plastic tank. Um, it's just bolted in there. I'm surprised if it rolled that those bolts held because that's a lot of weight. So I guess that, you know, proves how tough this thing is. But I think you could disconnect the frame from the tank pretty easily, and if you wanted to, or whatever the solution would be. But the solution would be is to mount this in the bed of the UTV, and then now the spray bar, the bars are in the bed of your UTV, and you're using that. And then I know I'll leave you to the third one here because I think that's probably the direction you're going to go is if you could lengthen out the towing on this, on the tow bar on this, give it a little more length and maybe make it a little more sturdy, and then add a little wider wheelbase on the sprayer itself. Keep it as a tow behind, but it would really make it more stable with the longer tow bar and then the much wider wheelbase. I think you'd be in good shape.
Yeah, if I had to do all over again, and I think this is what you have a sprayer that mounts on your ATV. So it'd be this equivalent of, for me, putting it in the bed of my side by side. That's the route I would go. If I was to do all over again, that's what I would do. That stated, I think what I'm leaning towards is I'm going to take these tires and put in a new shaft and extend this. And then I'm going to use this tube, this tubular, and I'm going to I'm going to move my wire harness right through here and zip tie it all the way through. So it's a lot more stable, because what they had just something reeky dink that was right over the top. And then what I'm going to do then is extend this tongue out a little bit. I'll probably double the length of the tongue so that I can see with my rear view mirror behind me on how it's spraying. And then lastly, I need to do something with how I'm connecting it to the side by side. And so I do have an appointment this afternoon with a local welder. Super great guy, friend of ours. And I'm going to be picking his brain on what he thinks the right thing to do here.
Well, I will let you get with Chris here, and let's get back together after you get your solution, after Chris does his thing, and let's see what you got.
All right, sounds good.
Hi, this is Tim and Joel. Welcome to Midwest Hunting and Outdoors by Two Dumbasses,
a podcast about the outdoors, hunting,
and being a steward of the land.
Well, Joel, today we're wrapping up our sprayer episode. Done a lot of work to that thing.
Yeah, you've been busy piecing that Franken sprayer together there. But I'm excited to hear about what you changed, and more importantly, I know you've been doing some spraying and what the results were.
Yeah, there are a couple of findings I got from a good friend Chris Cadell, who did our welding for us and helped me retrofit. And as soon as I brought it up, one of the things he said was, he goes, "You're going to want me to widen that axle." And I said, "Yep." And he goes, and he also said, "Hey, that tongue's not long enough." I said, "Yep." And he said, he goes, "How many of those do you think I've had to redo up here?" And he says it's like well over a dozen.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were on the right track as far as our thought process. Good.
He goes, "Hey, it would have been great for a lawn." He goes, "But for what you're trying to use," he goes, "just not going to work." He had some really creative ideas that I hadn't thought of. But, there's a couple things he brought up with is the tongue. The tongue should be at a minimum the width of whatever the unit you're pulling it behind.
So you're using your new Kubota 1000 UTV.
Yep.
And the width of that's probably, let's say 4 feet.
Yep.
I mean, it's probably at least 4 feet. And so he's saying the tongue should be at least 4 feet, and we guesstimated it at originally from the manufacturer at about 18 inches.
Yep.
Wow.
And then the other thing he said was your width of your axle should be the width of the unit you're pulling it behind, or thereabouts. And it's pretty close, I think. So we'll go out, and you guys have seen the video. So anyway, I've used it. I did about 1.5 acres in 20 minutes.
Nice.
So really good, getting some good application. I feel very confident. It cost me, so it took us 2 hours to do the total retrofit, about $165. And then we're going to do this over in another episode, but I had some electrical problems right off the bat with the accessory, not off the pump and sprayer itself, but off of what I was going to be using as a switch. And so I was able to isolate that, got that all replaced out, and
kind of unrelated to what we were
trying to fix.
The modification, right?
Yep.
So just kind of recapping, Tim, there's really three options we considered. One was selling it and starting with a different one, and it just monetarily didn't make sense. Didn't want to go that route. The other one was to take it off the tow behind and put it in the trunk of your UTV.
Yep.
And you wanted to give this one a shot first. So now looking back at it, based on you've used it now and went through it, good decision? You think it was the right decision of the two choices?
Yeah, so I think if I would have sold it, if you would have taken the price and then I would have had to buy another unit that would have met my needs, I think the cost differential is about a wash. And I would still had to try to find a buyer to buy it. And so I think it's a wash. And so with that, I know this is going to work. I know it's going to work. It's going to be super durable. I don't believe I will have another problem with that.
Yeah, good. Yeah, and not that the other solution was, there were issues we're going to have to work through with that. One is getting it connected in there, first of all, getting it held in there, the electrical, and then the biggest one to work through, I
Just
think we
the
could have worked
sprayers.
through it, is the sprayer heads would have been higher, and we would have to do some adjustments with those somehow.
Now I did see, and I forgot to mention this in our product review, the sprayer heads are plastic, all plastic. I do see a day at some point in time in the future I might have to flip those out. Just the very fact that they're plastic.
Yeah. It's been a good sprayer for you. I mean, you've had this for how long now?
4 years.
Yeah. And like you said, the pump on this thing, very reliable.
Solid.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, just from use and then rolling it a couple times. I mean, it's built pretty good.
Yeah, does the 2.2 gallons per minute, and I can attest to it that that's what it's putting out.
It goes fast. Yeah. Well, good. I'm happy. I'm happy that you got your sprayer back on its feet.
Yeah, thank
No
you.
pun intended.
Yep.
On its wheels. How about that? On its wheels.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good. Anything else you would touch before we put closure to this?
We're going to do a quick little episode a little later on some of the electrical work that we found, and might be helpful for you folks in problem solving. So we'll talk that in a second.
Well, until then,
Be safe,
have
have fun,
fun,
and get outdoors.
thanks for listening or watching our show. We have some exciting topics and guests coming up.
We ask that you subscribe to our channel on YouTube and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
We look forward to hearing your suggestions for topics.
Questions and comments. This is Two Dumbasses signing off. Until next time,
Be safe,
have fun, and get
outdoors.
outdoors.